A very good morning to you all. And so I'm going to begin. Two of us are going to be talking in this segment. And I'm going to begin the talk with talking about my book called Play, Practice and Pursue. So I want to just give you a little bit about the beginning of why I did this. It is based on the national education policy, which talks about 10 days bagless period in the middle school. What is so important about that? I mean, like, okay, fun games and, you know, no studies, no bags. But that's not true. So this whole idea is something I've been working on since 2007 on the introduction of something called pre-vocation education. Why that? Because I know that a lot of us had great introductions to various arts and skills as kids. But what about the children in our villages? What about our rural children? What about our farmer children? They are not introduced to the arts of India. Or maybe just one or two. But do you know that India, Bharat Desh, has over 300 arts and crafts which will die if our students don't learn them in the schools. And there is no accommodation of that in any of our schools. There are two segments. One are the state schools and government schools, and the others are the great boards that have come from abroad, which don't even bother to teach our children about India. And I think that's really sad. For example, there is a wonderful instrument, a musical instrument in Kutch. There is only one instrument left and only one person who plays it. And the irony is the person who repairs it is across the border in Pakistan. That's it. And that's happening to a lot. I don't know, the ladies know about the Maheshwari saris which were dying. And they were revived. There is a beautiful documentary on Banarsi weave, which we all wear in our weddings. Do you know the person who weaves Banarsi was crying? He said the kids need to learn about this when they're in the 6th standard. So we are not talking of child labor. The whole thing is that this child rights program, which was created in the West, is not applicable to our country. And yet we follow it because they don't even have half the arts and crafts that we have. And as far as I know, that the silly education system which they brought in, and we were even sillier to continue doing it, doesn't talk of this. You just had one wonderful example of a person who talked of history right now. Why do you think we were taught that we were losers? Why do you think we were taught that we don't have any art, craft? We don't have anything. Because one of the things is they attack our self-esteem. They destroy us. And I'm very serious about this. Like Anand talked a lot, you know, and I agree with a lot of everything he's talking about. And, you know, he said that the vote bank first wants the food and the gas and the toilets, the roti, kapda or makan. But don't you realize that mental health is a big thing? And mental health doesn't have to do with roti, kapda or makan. One of the biggest things that gets us to our life, to our mental health is culture. And what is culture? Culture, by definition, is that complex whole which includes knowledge, belief, art, moral laws, customs, and other capabilities and habits that are acquired by men, by people in the member of society. Culture is the essence of the spirit of the society and includes rules, principles, morality, the way we dress, the language we speak, the religion we follow, the rituals, the art, and the system of belief. How come we are not taught this in school? How come? Do you know, sadly, all the policies, even though this new NEP 2020 is one of the world's greatest document, as an educationist I say that, they don't talk of spirituality. They talk of holistic education. But what is the whole person? You know, years back it was intelligence, so it was the IQ. Then they realized, no, we are emotional beings, so they got EQ. And then we talked about being strong and healthy, and we talked of PQ, that's the physical health. In the 20th century, the World Health Organization came up with this beautiful term, life skills, the psychosocial skills. And so we started, a very few people, I bet none of you all do that, think about it, social quotient. But there are two very important quotients that we are not talking about. One is our spiritual quotient, and the other is aesthetic quotient. So this book addresses that. And of course, everybody says that, change comes from up. I believe change comes from down. I believe if we bring this into our schools, we will change the child in the school. We don't want to change him, actually. We want to transform him. And I'm not talking of the elite. I'm talking of every child in our village, every child in the slums. I'm talking about the child in child labor. I'm talking about the child on the streets. And I'm talking, importantly, about the child in the apartments and the high-rises, because those are the ones that are going to probably become the bureaucrats. We need to change everybody's thinking. So this book talks about that, and that's what I'm talking about, including spirituality in the schools. I am talking of aesthetics, and I'm going to raise a very important point here. If we want to bring Bharat fast forward, we need to take a stand, which I do at all academic conferences, is I am not from Southeast Asia. I am from India. Don't club me with Southeast Asia. Another thing is, it is not Eastern knowledge. It is Indian knowledge. It is not aesthetics, which is only based on Greece, the Western aesthetics. I want my children to learn Indian aesthetics. There is a vast difference. I'm not saying Western aesthetics is bad. No. First learn Indian aesthetics and then learn Western aesthetics. Western aesthetics is about copying nature, which is great, because if you see their statues, they're wonderful. I mean, I have, sat looking at these statues, and I've got these pictures where I've looked at it and just fallen in love with what the artist did, or the beautiful landscapes. But Indian aesthetics is even greater than that. And I get goosebumps just thinking about it, because all of it is done for the glory of God. There are two aspects of Indian aesthetics. One is the art, and the other art is in our homes. The beautiful ghade pe ghada, or the wonderful Kutch embroidery done for everyday wear. This is everyday stuff. This is aesthetics. This is what India is about. And this is what I want my children to learn. And like Krishna Bhagavan says, that everything is mine. Sure. And that's why our wonderful artists did not write their names on their paintings. Just think of that beauty. You know, recently I met somebody who bought some fantastic paintings and all from Odisha, and they said that the government is stealing these people's this thing by not allowing them to sign. No, it isn't that. You did not sign your work because it was done for the glory of God. So, the next point I want to raise is that we as teachers and parents need to teach our children this. Besides the other things, but we need to teach them this. And that's what I did in the village. I did a whole 10-day workshop, and that's what this book is about, of how I taught the 92 kids the Aditya Ridhanam. And I told them this is in Valmiki's Ramayana. India, Bharat knew that the earth moved in such a way that the sun rose at the Himalayan mountains and went down the Vindhyas. We knew that the sun was the giver of health and thus wealth. We knew that Sri Ram, when he said this, he got the power to fight his enemies. I empowered my children by enabling them to learn it. How did I do it? I did it with great fun. As a story, I told the Aditya Ridhanam. Then I made a PPT with all the pictures. And then I took them to a heritage site, the Modhera Sun Temple. I showed them the beauty of art over there. They saw the story of Aditya Ridhanam in the temples. They heard about how the great king of Patan made this temple to celebrate the sun. They also learnt that Islamic invasion broke every idol on this temple. Why do we hide this? You know, when we talk of colonization, we only talk of British colonization. So I asked senior teachers in college, why are you not talking of Islamic? See, we've got Muslim kids in our class. So we even have Christian kids in our class. So somebody asked me, you're talking of teaching stotras and spirituality and Sanatan Dharma in the classroom. Because Sanatan Dharma is spirituality. And I said, yes. Though they said, what about the Muslim kids? What about the Christian kids? And I said, we need to understand that all of us have a common heritage. We have the common heritage of the Sindhu Sanskriti, Sindhu Saraswati Sanskriti. I'm not teaching them religion. There are millions of stotras from the Veds, which the UNESCO calls the 4 pillars that hold up the superstructure of Asia. UNESCO calls Mahabharata and Ramayana, it's a tangible heritage, and it's called the world's best poetry written with a message to humanity. Yet, in the name of secularism, we do not teach our children this. Isn't that wrong? So, I think I've nearly come to the end of my time, haven't I? Yeah? So, I want to raise some points which are very important, and that is something which you all should know when we talk about it. Not teaching children, especially the Hindu children, in spirituality and their stotras in school Do you know it's not only against the goals of SDG 2030, which the whole world is a signatory about, but it is against the UNCRC. That's the United Nations Convention of Child Rights. Yes. It states that by incorporating such education, children get deeper understanding of their rights and are empowered to explore their spiritual belief while respecting diverse perspective of others. That was Article 14. It says the human right to freedom of religion. And it's in the child rights. Okay, I'm not talking of other rights, human rights. Because we are great, no, child right this, child right that, labor this, labor that. So use this too. And then education in religion and culture can help children exercise their rights to culture participation as stipulated in Article 15 and 31 of UNCRC. Finally, such education can support child rights to their own identity as enshrined in Article 2, 7 and 30 of the UNCRC. Do you see this? The culture is, heavily talked about in the SDGs because it says that we have to include culture, human right, heritage, creativity, all these components in education. So, yeah, and the child rights. I think it's a very important thing. And so when I went to Modhera, I taught the children. Guess what I taught them there? You'd not be able to believe this. I taught them mathematics at the temple. Because in the Kund, there is fractal geometry and the Fibonacci series. Even before the name fractal geometry was made, this temple was made with fractal geometry. I taught my children pottery over there. We learned history over there, and we all did that in the temple. This is how I believe we will be able to revive our culture, our heritage. Yes, we need to fight it every day on the television. We need to fight it in the courts. But we also need a very silent revolution which will happen in schools. And we need to do it. And we need to be aware. I would like you all to be aware and know about the new education framework that's come out. Do you know that, Shefali, you should know this, that the yoga was not included in it. Till somebody protested and said, how can you not put yoga in the new national education, new framework? Not in the NEP and the curriculum framework. Because that's what they're going to learn now for the next 30, 40 years. So please be aware. We have to fight this at different levels. And for me, it's my children, the children of my country. I want to change their lives. I want to take Bharat fast forward this way. I want to have entrepreneurs in the classroom. And they will only be entrepreneurs if we introduce this at the preparatory level, in the middle school. I think we should all start respecting that teacher who's teaching the kids in the first and the second standard too. And she has this great thing to do. And at the same time, I really thank all my friends who are writing these wonderful books on history. And I hope that they get included properly into the framework. Or some of us teachers are bold enough to say, this is what's written, but this is the truth. So let's learn the truth. And like my motto is, if not me, then who? If not now, then when? I think everybody should do this. If not now, then when are we going to do it? We all need to take a stand. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Swarup Sampadji. for that very, very moving and inspiring talk. I am Ananda Shankar Jayant, a Bharatanatyam dancer, teacher, choreographer. I also served as a bureaucrat, the much maligned word, for many years. So I have always brought the two learnings from my dance and my bureaucratic world. They've always met each other. So in 2017, with my co-founder Sneha, who was behind there, we were all talking apps at that point of time. India was talking of digital India. And I looked at Bharatanatyam and I said, hey, I have students coming to my class twice a week, and then they go back, and I tell them to practice, and they don't practice. And I think this is the bane of all performing art teachers. And I said, let's do something. So, and then we created this browser-based application called Natyaramba, which was my first venture into marrying technology into a very traditional art form. And of course, this is now followed across the world. Slowly and steadily, this continued. And then, of course, the pandemic hit us. So 2020, when the world was we were all locked down. And on the first day of the lockdown, on March 20th of 2020, I said, let's do something online. Of course, all of us learned how to I even downloaded Instagram only then. I didn't even have it then. So slowly and steadily, we started marrying technology to the arts. We created something called Namaskaram, a 1-minute video, and we asked people from across the globe to say thank you through dance. And that happened. And it became an ode to all the warriors, the doctors, which happened then. Slowly, and we continued through the lockdown. I'm giving you this very brief background as to, I'm coming into the topic in a bit. So slowly, I think we'll fast forward. Yeah, and then we continued to engage artists online through various schemes throughout 20 and 21. One was called With Me, where we looked at artists' mental health, Punarnava, inspiration from the likes of Sonal Mansingh ji and those who've gone through extraordinary travails in life and have bounced back with the power of art. And we created a beautiful rap song called Jile with children, so that this positivity was something that we were pushing through the arts, through technology, and through inspiration and motivational concepts. And then, in September 2020, Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke about the power of katha, the power of storytelling in his Man Ki Baat. And that's when Kutti Kahani happened. As a dancer, I'm essentially a storyteller. I tell narratives, I share narratives. My mother, like for all of us, used to tell us a story every night. And she would animate it with song, music, dance, multi-language, and she would make us write and draw about it later. And that became, I think for all of us, the bedrock of our civilizational learning and of our values and life lessons. In September 2020, while this Man Ki Baat was happening, I was assailed. I was seeing young children locked up in their homes, with parents locked up in their bedrooms, not knowing, busy with their work, children not going out to school. So I asked myself this question: in a globalized world, how can we make our children stay connected to their roots? It often seems that young India is so deracinated and so far completely removed from their roots. Well, punishing schedules of parents, absolutely heavy timetables of schools, nuclear families, all these put together have seen us sidestepping of the transmission of civilizational knowledge. And our transmission happened through stories, through learning, through the arts, as Swaroopji so beautifully just put it in front of us. While this thought was assailing me, what also came to the fore is small pockets of young children across India and the globe were still staying connected to the arts. music class, dance class, painting classes, gardening, all these traditional art forms, crafts, where they went and learned. They learned something about their art. For example, I would have young parents come up to me and say, "You've taught me a story that I never knew about." I ask them back a simple question. If I'm teaching my student of 7 years or 8 years Krishnani Begane Baru, and I don't teach the child 4 stories on Krishna, the child can't emote. And hence, learning the art forms, learning any of the arts or crafts becomes the shortest pathway to traditional knowledge, because willy-nilly you will learn it. So I looked at this and I said, how can I capture these students who are still staying in those little classrooms, imbibing values and cultural ethos and India's wisdom, immersing in our Bharatiya legacy. And we at Natyaramba, that is the platform, we said, let's listen in to what the children already know. And thus was born Kutti Kahani. Kutti Kahani was essentially Kutti, small, Kahani, stories, Chote Chote Kahani, wherein I reached out to children in the age group of 6 to 13 across India. It went across the globe later, to tell me a story, a Hindu story that they knew, through the prism of their own performative talent. And I told the parents, please video it on your phones and send it back to us. And it became a new way of sharing knowledge. Because what we did to these videos is we, of course, amped it up, and we had a professional digital designer do the animation and all that, so that it became of international standard. And it became, we called it Kutti Kahani, Eternal Stories, Young Storytellers. So when one of their own was telling the stories, the children loved it. And this was going online every morning, 8 a.m., from November 20th to December 31st of 2020. It had music, it had stories through music, dance, chanting, puppetry, poetry, acting, and of course, storytelling. So it became a new method of sharing traditional knowledge and values through the prism of arts and, of course, technology. So what it did is, this is of course dedicated to every grandparent and teacher and generations of storytellers, we all are storytellers, which have kept India's cultural civilization alive. And because it was a video project, we had a little nice jingle that we added to it. So we said, Kutti 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 Kahani, Chote Chinna Kutti Kahani, Kutti 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 Kahani, and it went on from Dada Dadi, from Tata Party, Kutti 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 Kahani. So this is what it was. So what it became was, it was a multi-art, multilingual, digital, design and animation. You can forward it. Yeah. So multi-art, of course, they had so many art forms. Multilingual. I ended up having 11 languages, and wherever I needed, I had subtitles. And we had young storytellers from Majuli Island to Ludhiana to Gujarat to Ahmedabad to Kerala and, of course, UK, USA, Singapore and Malaysia. And it brought alive multitude of stories, many that even I didn't know. So this was how there were the many episodes. And I remember Sneha and I talking and saying, she calls me Akka, and she said, Akka, you won't get more than 10 episodes. And we had 55 episodes. and we had to stop it at some point of time. So what it essentially had was, it was a 55 episode stories from India, storytelling in the age group of 6 to 13, as I said, multi-art, stories from epics, Puranas, folk tales, bhakti poets, handicrafts, and even something on neem tree, young stories across India, languages, English, Sanskrit, Hindi, Tamil, Telugu, Marathi, Kannada, Malayalam, Bengali, Punjabi, and Assamese, and of course, a whole bunch of performing arts. Now, I'm just coming into the book. I will just share with you some snippets so that you have an idea how the videos look and how they played out. The first video is one of our favorites. It's by a young 7-year-old. And he spoke on Narasimha. Is that the tethering? Is that a Wi-Fi? Okay, so what we had is, until that comes up, we had different methodologies to do it. We had instrumentation, like children would send us stories through instrument playing. Once it comes up, you tell me. I'll just stop talking after that.
Namaste. My name is Vitarag Upadhyay. Today, I'm going to tell you a very beautiful story. But
Wi-Fi?
which story should I tell you? There are so
Oh, that's sad. Technology will kill us, won't it? Okay, so we had children sending us instruments from Majuli Island. We had, people, youngs playing the drums. A chenda player, a 5-year-old chenda player said, I want to grow up and play chenda in the Trishur Puram. That was his aim in life, and he played the chenda. So what was happening is, seeing this, the urban child was also getting excited. The urban child was saying, hey, I also want to learn this. Then we had stories from the Puranas, told in Tamil. A child, there's a sequence in which a young sister asks the elder sister, after the Dashavtaram, the Golu is happening, Dashara Golu, and she misplaces Vamana before Narasimha. So the elder sister says, this is not the way to do it. And then they place it right, and then she says, the young sister says, Akka, have all the gods come and gone? Will there be no other god coming? And the elder sister replies, illa kalki varuvar periya vaal pudichundu varuvar. So it became a simple, easy way for children to connect. So parents and teachers were excited to bring these stories alive in the most interesting way possible. We also, because it was the pandemic, we had even chants. Like, was a young child who I wish this was playing. I wish we could do that. Yeah? It's done? Okay, we can play that. Sorry about that.
Namaste. My name is Vitarag Upadhyay. Today, I'm going to tell you a very beautiful story. But which story should I tell you? There are so many pillars here. I will tell you a story where Lord Vishnu came out of a pillar. But before that, let's close our eyes and sing a prayer. 1 minute. Shruti box. Achyutam Keshavam. Long, long ago, there was a boy named Prahlada. He was a very good boy, just like me. Vallabham Achyutam Keshavam. But his father was not like
Not like his father.
my father. He was
We tested it yesterday. The Wi-Fi is not good? Yeah. Okay. So, I wish we could play this. Yeah, so we had this other story where we had this child repeat the, Vaidyanath Ashtakam, which was very needed during the pandemic. And so what was happening here is, some of the videos is, you can see, we added animation, we added the scripture, we added the subtitling, we added the meanings. For example, Nirvana Ashtakam of Adi Shankara, all this kept getting added. So the visual became very exciting for the child. Not only is the child listening to a story, but the child is also seeing and learning extra things that were being added onto it. And then what happened in May of 2021, Doordarshan reached out to me and said, these are fantastic videos. Would you please share it with us? Of course, free. So we shared it with them, and they telecast it on prime time in DD Bharati at 9 in the morning and in the evening. So it became another way of connecting. And then a thought assailed me. I said, okay, now that we've done these videos, how do I put this all together and add further information so that it goes out to the young as a cohesive book? And that's when we came upon this idea of releasing this as a video embedded ebook. So that's what it is now. Kutti Kahani is a video embedded ebook. Technology has been very stressful on the publication front because video embedding is a difficult format. But instead of just videos, we also added, we amped it up a bit, and we added did you know segments for each of the book, for each of the stories. For example, if one child was talking about, say this little boy is talking about Narasimha, we added all the Narasimha Kshetras. Where are the Narasimha Kshetras? Or if one child was talking of, say, of Annamacharya Sankirtana, we said, what are the 7 names of the 7 hills of Tirumala? You know, Simhadri, Vedadri and all that. So these kind of extra information which is available in general space, we picked that up, cleaned it up, and so that the child gets to read, learn, know, listen, see, understand, and own. So this was what we had planned. And then, of course, if we can forward to that slide, Sneha, to the PM slide. So on the 18th of June, something exciting happened in our lives. I think we're just forwarding it. Sorry about all this. We had a lot of stuff for you. Yeah. So on the 18th of June, PM, Prime Minister Modi, I was in Singapore when this happened, and he talked about this Kutti Kahani ebook and video. So hopefully this will play.
हाल ही में मुझे देश की प्रसिद्ध भारतीय शास्त्रीय नृत्यांगना आनंदा शंकर जैन का एक पत्र मिला। अपने पत्र में उन्होंने मन की बात के उस एपिसोड के बारे में लिखा है जिसमें हमने स्टोरी टेलिंग के बारे में चर्चा की थी। उस कार्यक्रम में हमने इस फील्ड से जुड़े लोगों की प्रतिभा को एक्नॉलेज किया था। मन की बात के उस कार्यक्रम से प्रेरित होकर आनंदा शंकर जयंत ने कुट्टी कहानी तैयार की है। ये बच्चों के लिए अलग अलग भाषाओं की कहानियों का एक बेहतरीन संग्रह है। यह प्रयास इसलिए भी बहुत अच्छा है क्योंकि इससे हमारे बच्चों का अपनी संस्कृति से लगाव और गहरा होता है। उन्होंने इन कहानियों के कुछ इंटरेस्टिंग वीडियोस अपने YouTube चैनल पर भी अपलोड किए हैं। मैंने आनंदा शंकर जैन के इस प्रयास की विशेष तौर पर इसलिए चर्चा की क्योंकि ये देखकर मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा कि कैसे देशवासियों के अच्छे काम दूसरों को भी प्रेरित कर रहे हैं। इससे सीखकर वे भी अपने हुनर से देश और समाज के लिए कुछ बेहतर करने की कोशिश करते हैं। यही तो हम भारतवासियों का वो कलेक्टिव पावर है जो देश की प्रगति में नई शक्ति भर रही है।
You want to play anything? Yeah. Sneha says 2 minutes she wants to try playing something. Maybe play the smaller ones. We worked almost for a week on that, so it's unfair that it doesn't play. He's back.
Namaste. My name is Vitarag Upadhyay. Today I'm going to tell you a very beautiful story. But which story should I tell you? There are so many pillars here. I will tell you a story where Lord Vishnu came out of a pillar. But before that, let's close our eyes and sing a prayer. 1 minute. Shruti box. Achyutam Keshavam. Long, long ago, there was a boy named Prahlada. He was a very good boy, just like me. Vallabham Achyutam Keshavam. But His father was not like my father. He was a bad person. His name was Hiranyakashipu. Prahlada used to always pray to Lord Vishnu. Hiranyakashipu did not like it. He thought he was the Lord of the universe. He was very arrogant. So one day, he told Prahlada to pray to him. Prahlada said no. My Lord is Vishnu. Hiranyakashipu got very angry. He asked, where is your Vishnu? Prahlada said, Vishnu is everywhere. Hiranyakashipu started laughing. That is so funny. Is he there in this floor? Prahlada said yes. Is he there in the sky? Prahlada said yes. Is he there in the stone? Is he there in the bird? Is he there in the tree? For everything Prahlada said yes. And he asked, is he there in this pillar? Prahlada said, of course, yes. Vishnu is everywhere. Hiranyakashipu got very angry. He took his gada and he went and broke the pillar. And you know what came out of the pillar? Narasimha. Nara means man. Simha means lion. So half man and half lion. That was Vishnu. He came and killed Hiranyakashipu. And protected Prahlada. सोते नहीं कौन कहते हैं भगवान सोते ना. So what is the moral of the story? You should not be arrogant. You should always believe in good. You should be always a good boy. Just like me. Namaste. Tam Keshravam. See you all in the next episode of Kutti Kahani.
So these were the kind of stories, different stories would come. We are almost closing in now. So Sneha, can you just forward it to the after the PM's video, the testimonials one, and then we can close it. So now, so of course we had, Anand also has, wrote about it. A lot of testimonials. People have given us a good feedback on this Kutti Kahani ebook, and this is what it finally. This is a little roundup of it. Yeah. That was Kutti Kahani, which is available. Sneha Magapu from my team and Gunjan Ashtaputra, a visual designer, has done this. So you can just forward it to the next one. So that's what it is, an e-book that is available, and it's available on Amazon. So this is how we have tried to bring in our arts, like Swaroopji beautifully said it, our arts, their knowledge, Indic knowledge, through the prism of arts, using technology, using the platform of technology, animation, design, by children, for children, and also maybe for all of us, because some stories, Pillai Orangiya Dasar enak theriyadhu, I had to learn from the children. So a lot of stories like that. So this is what we have done, and that is what I wanted to share here. So I wanted to continue the conversation since that is the plan. So I wanted to thank you, Swarupji, for your beautiful comment on the aesthetics. And I say this because my guru, Rukmini Devi Arundel, used to always say, art and culture is not entertainment or even a career, but life. And I think you said that so beautifully. I think we need extra mics on stage.
Yes, there are 2 points I want to talk about art. One is that nations are made by artists and by poets. And I've cut out one bit which said not politicians. Arts contains in itself the deepest principles of life, the trust, guide to the greatest area, the art of living. And the way I use art is really something, and it's like based on my work, and I'd like to share that with you. So art is A-R-T, that's action, reflection, and transformation. So art can do that. Art can really do that. So when you take an action in art and you reflect on it, you are a transformed being. And like they say that the arts and drama cannot transform a nation, but it can transform the human beings that can transform the nation.
I'll add one more word to the art. Nedunuri Krishnamurthy, a very senior, I think we can now pull our chairs a little in front. Nedunuri Krishnamurthy ji paraphrased art as Annamacharya, Ramadas and Tyagaraja. So 3 of the doyens of Telugu music. I think we can open up for questions now, if any. Any questions? Yeah, I see one hand going up. I think Bharat's hand is going up. I think I'm going to pull it up a bit.
I have a very simple question. I grew up in Mumbai, 70s, 80s. We had a topic called civics. History was separate, civics was separate. At 50, I think we overemphasize on rights. Are our teachers today teaching our children their duties towards the nation? I'm talking purely duties, civics. Are the teachers actually teaching? I'm sorry, I don't know. That's why I'm asking. No offense meant, please.
Yes, it is a part of the national curriculum. And what you probably learned and we did is just been changed, and now it's become more robust. And, we're talking about seva for the nation, which is there in the new national curriculum framework of school education. So it's talking of not only, empowerment, but your seva to the nation. And it is...
I request Srimati Priya Sam and Mr. Siddharth Ji from Perks to come up to the stage to present the memento.
Thank you very much, Swarupji. Thank you, Shrifali, and thank you, the Veranda Club and Bharat Fast Forward for having us here to share our stories.
Manoshi Sinha is a best-selling author, editor of My India, My Glory, heritage traveler, history researcher, and an amazing speaker, launching the book along with Sir Surya Sarathi Roy, who is an Indian history researcher, heritage explorer, and an associate member of ICMOS and an INTAC research associate. I request Manoshi ji to give a short brief about her book.
Vande Mataram, Namaskaram. I would like to thank the Veranda Club for inviting me to be a part of this session at the Western Ghats Lit Fest 2.0. So this is my third book on history, titled Vishwaguru Bharat, A Cause of the Ancients. So this is the Itihasa of Bharat. It is the chronicle of the ancient rishis and scientists, of gurus and philosophers, of clans and dynasties that shaped Bharat as a civilization. It is a legacy of the wisdom of the ancients carried in the Vedas, Upanishads, Purans, and more ancient texts. The carvings and inscriptions of the ancient temples, which are history in stone, silently convey a million stories of glory and splendor of the bygone days. Remnants from the excavations identify Bharat as an advanced civilization. The concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, connoting the world is one family, is inherent in the civilizational fabric, which continues to this day. This is Vishwaguru Bharat, a cause of the ancients. The Itihasa in this book is validated by historical texts from the ancient to the present period, including the Vedas, the Upanishads, the Samhitas, the Ramayana, Mahabharata, the Surya Siddhanta, and more texts. In addition to inscriptions, epigraphs, carvings, sculptures, remnants from excavated sites, reports from the Archaeological Survey of India, and more. So before I describe a little bit about my book, I would like to tell about Bharat as a civilization. Bharat, we are the one of the oldest surviving civilizations in the world. Despite 1300 years of loot, plunder, genocide in millions of the Hindus, Buddhists, Jains, destruction of thousands of our temples, the plunder and loot of our wealth, we have still survived and carrying forward the legacy of our thousands of years old civilizational identity. But in our academic history textbooks, we have been projected as defeated, as losers. We don't want to remember the last 1,000 years of our past, especially because we have been projected that way. Now, Bharat as a civilization survived only because of the continuous resistance offered by the warriors of the soil from each and every corner of Bharat. And then, in our history books, as Anand Ranganathan ji has well described in his talk, that all of these atrocities committed by the invaders have not been told in our history textbooks. They have been projected in good light. So as we grew up, we have read only a one-sided and distorted narrative. We know who Mahmud of Ghazni is, who Akbar is, who Shah Jahan is, who Robert Clive is, and hundreds of all the invaders and their stories. And that is also a one-sided one. But we do not know about who our warrior ancestors are, who saved Bharat, who protected Dharma in the motherland. So we do not know about who Mula Gabharu is, who Kapaya Nayaka is, or who Velu Nachiyar is. the majority of we Indians, we Bharatiyas, we do not know about them. So it is high time these stories are told in our history textbooks, academic history books. Because since the last, say 5 to 10 years, due to the digital revolution, and because we are able to lend a voice, so our voice is being heard through the social media platforms. So these stories are being told by Vikram Sampatji, by Amit Agarwal. There are so many scholars who have written about all of these warriors. I have written a book series called Saffron Swords. Part 1 and Part 2 have already been released, each part to describe 52 episodes of valor of our warrior ancestors from each and every corner of Bharat from the 8th century till 1947. So, but these changes have to happen in the academic level. Then only we will get to know in detail about who our ancestors are, who protected our dharma and motherland during the last 1300 years. Another point is the facts that the scholars present are not easily accepted by the mainstream historians or scholars or the history authorities. So I want to quote an example from Echoes of the Ancients from this book about archaeologist A.K. Sharma. We all know about the distortions about the Aryan invasion theory and the Aryan migration theory, and it has been proved false that this is a fake theory and fake migration theory. But this narrative still rules the psyche of the majority of the people of Bharat. According to the Aryan invasion theory or Aryan migration theory, the Aryans brought horses around 1500 BCE. That is some 2500 years ago. The Aryans brought horses via the Himalayas, through the Himalayas. Once I heard Major General J.D. Bakshi addressing an audience that even for the army to carry tanks to the mountains was a difficult task. So how could the Aryans bring horses, galloping horses, through the Himalayas to India? That there are several archaeological evidences that prove that horses are indigenous to India. The earliest archaeological evidence dates back to around 4500 BCE. The traces of a domesticated horse was found at Rajasthan, and that dates back to 4500 BCE. So A.K. Sharma, archaeologist A.K. Sharma, he also found remains of horses which he described in detail in a report published in the Puratattva magazine, published by the Archaeological Society of India. And it was published in 1974. And it took almost 2 decades for his report, for his finds to be recognized as correct. And that too after a foreigner from another continent, he acknowledged that the facts found by him about the domesticated horse is true. And then he wrote in the same Puratattva magazine in the 1993 edition. I would like to quote his exact words. These are all described in this book, Echoes of the Ancients. So to quote archaeologist A.K. Sharma, when will we imbibe intellectual courage not to look across the borders for approval? The historians are still worse. They feel it is an attempt on the part of rightists to prove that the Aryans did not come to India from outside her boundaries. But truth must prevail. Science is science. It is neither left nor right. That the horse is an indigenous animal and was domesticated during the times of the Harappans is now proved beyond doubt. Fortunately, the Harappan horse that lay buried under the dunes of ignorance, suspicion, and prejudice of historians and archaeologists alike has now come out unharmed and now stands erect in full view of all. So this is written by an archaeologist himself, A.K. Sharma. So Bharat as a Vishwaguru. How do we connect Bharat as a Vishwaguru? So we all know yoga originated in India, and yoga has facilitated to the holistic well-being of trillions of lives across the world. Bharatiya philosophy has influenced many scientists and philosophers across the world. And then we all know how our ancient texts, like the Prashna Upanishad, contains information about gravity. Prashna Upanishad was written during the Upanishadic times, before the Ramayana events took place. And then we all know about the astronomy, about the distance from the earth to the sun, and all of these things mentioned in our ancient texts. And about gravity, about atomic theory. So all of this are described in this book. So I would like to draw one example about Sushruta's finds, Sushruta's discoveries. Sushruta is considered as the world's first surgeon. So there is a very interesting incident about plastic surgery being conducted in Pune in the year 1793. So we all know about, Anand Ranganathan ji has told a lot about Tipu Sultan. So a war took place between the British and Tipu Sultan in 1792. Kawasji was a bullock cart driver who worked under the British. He was taken prisoner by the army of Tipu Sultan. And many more Indians employed under the British, they were taken prisoners by Tipu Sultan. So under the orders of Tipu Sultan, the nose and one hand of many of these Indians were cut off. And Kawasji and the victims whose noses and hands were cut off, they were looking for surgeons who could fix the issue. And ultimately, after 1 year, they found a surgeon, they heard about a surgeon who belonged to a family of brickmakers. But this surgeon, that family, they were not only brickmakers, but they were also surgeons, plastic surgeons. And this Kawasji, he first came to him and he showed his condition. Then the surgeon said that, yeah, this can be, like it been fixed. The hand and especially the facial, the nose can be fixed. And the surgery was successfully done. Not only on Kawasji, but 5 of his friends as well. So, when the British came to know about this, they were very surprised. So the first surgery was done, the British came to know about it. Then 2 British surgeons came and they wanted to see how the surgeon conducted the surgery. It is about transplanting of skin flaps from the facial part. So Sushruta has described in detail about this plastic surgery and more surgeries in his book, Sushruta Samhita. So this book also contains a chapter on Sushruta Samhita about all of these important discoveries that are being followed today. So these 2 doctors, these 2 surgeons, they were witness to the surgical procedure, and back in London, they published the complete procedure in a magazine in 1794. And that reports changed the whole course of the plastic surgery across the world. So the Europeans and more surgeons across the world, they employed that particular technique described by Sushruta in his book, Sushruta Samhita. And that's how plastic surgery became popular. So it's originated from India. Then Cephalogy will be knowing about the Heliodorus pillar. You must say, yeah. So Heliodorus was a Greek ambassador to the court of Shunga king Raja Bhagabhadra. Heliodorus, he became a Vaishnavite, he became a Hindu, he became a devotee of Vishnu, and he built a Garuda Stambh at Vidisha in Madhya Pradesh. Now, the inscription at the Garuda pillar mentions in detail about who Heliodorus was, who Bhagabhadra was, and who Antialcidas was. Antialcidas was the Indo-Greek king under whom Heliodorus worked. But that Garuda stamp does not mention about any existing temple. But there are remnants of a Vishnu temple there, or of course the Garuda stamp would be built in front of a temple only. But there are remnants of the temple. The Garuda pillars still stand strong in Vidisha. So when we speak about the timeline of various dynasties in India, it is all distorted. So according to the academic history, the Vedic period started in some 1500 BCE and ended at around 600 BCE. And there are no timelines allotted to the Ramayana and the Mahabharata events. And then there are descriptions of few dynasties. But the truth is, even the Cholas, the early Cholas ruled during the Vedic period. There are many scholars who have been working on the chronology of India. There have been many researches, several researches done. And for example, Nilesh Nilkant Tokji, Vedvir Arya, Prafulla Menki, M.L. Raja, they have worked a lot on the chronology of India. Vedvir Arya has given a detailed description in his books, The Chronology of India, and he has written about all the dynasties and the kings of all the kingdoms across the length and breadth of Bharat. And this chronology starts from the pre-Vedic period, right from Manu till the medieval period. So according to Vedvir Arya, who has written this series of books based on several evidences, including oceanographic studies, inscriptions, literary evidences from the ancient scriptures, and then archaeological excavations, epigraphs and all. So according to him, the Mahabharata war took place at around 3162 BCE. So some 5,100 plus years ago. According to him, according to his book, the Shunga king Bhagabhadra ruled some 3,200 years ago, according to his chronology. Because he has given the chronology from the Vedic period till Mahabharata, the Ramayana and all of the dynasties. So some 3,200 years ago, Heliodorus built the Garuda stump at Vidisha. So according to the inscriptions in the pillar, Heliodorus is described as the son of Dion. And Antialcidas was a contemporary of Bhagabhadra. So there were international relations between countries, the legacy of which continues to this day. We have ambassadors, international ambassadors, we have ambassadors from different countries in India, and Indian ambassadors posted in different countries across the world. So Heliodorus was a Greek ambassador, and the inscription describes him as a devotee of Vishnu. The Brahmins at the court of Bhagabhadra, they welcomed him and initiated him into the Vaishnavite fold. Then I would like to share another anecdote from this book. So debates and discussions were part of the Indian cultural fabric since ancient times. Raja Janak held conferences in his court inviting scholars from across the country. And the debates and discussions used to continue for several days at a stretch. And we all know how Adi Shankara traveled across the country meeting scholars in each and every region of the country. And he debated. And he won in every debate. And we all know about this, his debate with Mandana Mishra. Before the debate, Mandana Mishra's wife, Bharati, she was the judge. Even she was a scholar. We have been told that women, according to the fake feminist narrative, it is told that women were deprived of all the privileges in ancient and medieval India. But we have so many thousands of examples of women scholars, women administrators, women rulers. Even women contributed verses in the Vedas. There are 21 women scholars who contributed verses in the Rig Veda only. So Bharati, the wife of Mandana Mishra, was a judge when this debate took place between Adi Shankara and Mandana Mishra. And Adi Shankaracharya, who was a celibate, he said, if I lose in the debate, then I will marry. And Mandana Mishra said, if I lose in the debate, then I will become a celibate. Even Bharati agreed to that condition. And then the debate took place, and then we all know Adi Shankara won, and Mandana Mishra became his disciple. During the earlier times, there was Guru-Shishya relationship not only between the teachers and the students, but this relationship was there amongst the scholars as well. So when the debates and discussions took place, whoever won, he used to become the guru of the other scholars, the scholars who lost in the debate. So in Nalanda University was one of the oldest universities in the world, where students from across the world came and studied. So what happened, scholars from Nalanda University used to get invited at the courts of various kingdoms across the country. So there is this king Bhaskara Barman from Assam who wanted to invite Huan-Sang, Chinese scholar Huan-Sang. It was the year 643 CE. During those times, a scholar by himself cannot visit the court of a king. He has to, the authority of the university should give the permission. And for that, the king used to write a letter to the authority of the university. So Raja Bhaskara Barman, he wrote a letter and sent a messenger to the court of, to Silabhadra, one of the teachers of Nalanda University. Initially, his request was not granted. So he sent a letter the second time. Even that time, it was not granted, because during that time, Huan-Sang was at the court of Harshavardhana, the king from the Pushyavati dynasty at Kanauj. And Bhaskara Varman considered it an insult that his request was not granted. So the third time he sent a letter with a very strict message that Huan-Sang be sent to his court. Then during that time, Harshavardhana was on a military campaign, and hence the king was not there in his kingdom, so he requested Huan-Sang to visit the court of Assam. So Huan-Sang agreed, and he went to Assam. By the time Harshavardhana came back to his kingdom, he was enraged, not seeing Huan-Sang at his court. So when he learned that he was in Assam, he immediately sent a messenger to the court of Bhaskara Varman. Then that Huan-Sang be immediately sent to his court. Bhaskara Varman refused. Then second time he again sent a messenger that if he doesn't send him, he should send his head instead. The king's head. He wanted the king's head instead if he was not sending Huan-Sang. At this, Harshavardhana, Bhaskara Varman got very enraged, and he set out with a huge army of 20,000 foot soldiers and 30,000 war boats during those times. And the Brahmaputra and the Ganga served as the base for the naval battles. So he set out towards Kanauj, and Harshavardhana was not prepared for war. He welcomed Bhaskara Varman with open arms. And then because he had come with a huge army, and immediately Harshavardhana thought of arranging a conclave, religious conclave. He first arranged a conclave, a conference at Kanauj, and then after the conference was done there, he again held a conference at Prayag. He invited 18 speakers from all kings from 18 different kingdoms, and all the kings participated. And there, Raja Bhaskara Varman exhibited his military prowess. So this is how the legacy of conclaves and conferences have been carried forward since the time of the Upanishads, since the Upanishadic times. And there's Litfest, Western Ghats Litfest, and many other Litfest and conferences are all part of that legacy that we are carrying forward. Do I have some more time, or because we have a discussion also? Yeah. So this book has 19 chapters. Let me read out the chapters. There are also photographs of carvings, which I have described in this book, the carvings of temples from across the country. Chapter number 1 is Ganesha and Gajendra in texts and stone. So there are carvings of Ganesha with descriptions, carvings from each and every corner of the country. So I have been visiting these places, historical sites and ancient temples all across the country since the last 17 years. So this book is a product of 17 years of research. So number 2 is the Kadwaha ancient Gurukul Mutt. This is an 8th century Gurukul, a 3-storied Gurukul. Remains are still there, but Aladdin Khilji's mosque is also there in the complex. As Anand Ranganathan ji said, like most of the temples have been demolished, half demolished, and then mosques have been erected in that places. So this Kadwaha Mutt also has a mosque in its place. Then Airavateswara temple, ancient temple associated with Yama and Airavata. Number 4, Vishnu devotee Heliodorus, ancient Greek ambassador. Number 5, fort of the gods. Number 6, heel of the gods. Number 7, the 64 yoginis and saptamatrikas. So here I have also given photographs and descriptions of saptamatrikas and yoginis from across the country. And I have also described in detail about the yoginis and saptamatrikas as described in our ancient texts. Then there are archaeo and literary evidence of horses as indigenous to India. So I have given a small example during the session. Then Ram Raja of Orcha. Ram is not worshipped as a god there. He is celebrated as a Raja in Orcha. Then ancient universities and Gurukulams of India. So the ancient educational tradition right from the early Vedic period till 1947. Then Nagarjuna, ancient alchemist and metallurgist. Then number 12, the Kohinoor. The history of the Kohinoor from the ancient times till now it is there in the British Museum. Then number 13, Grand Trunk Road is Uttarapatha since Upanishadic times. Number 14, Swayambara of Meghavahana of Kashmir and Amrita Prabha of Assam. Number 15, Maharishi Kannad. Number 16, Sushruta, world's first surgeon. So from Sushruta chapter, I have given just an example of Kovachi. Then Asurgarh, ancient urban fortified settlement of Orissa. So we have, all of us know about the Indus Valley civilization. We have read in detail. But there are many excavated sites which tell us about the ancient and advanced civilizations from the other parts of the country as well. And then there is a chapter number 18 is on gravity in ancient Indian texts. The first description of gravity finds mentioned in the Prashna Upanishad. And then I have given many more references and also extracts from Adi Shankaracharya's commentary on the Surya Sadhyanta, which contains about gravity. And then the chapter number 19 is the ancient city of Chandrakitugar. It is in Bengal. So this is all about the book. Thank you.
Thank you, Manushi, for this wonderful synopsis of your book. And Sadar Pranam to this august assembly of people over here. It's really an honor and privilege to address all of you. And I'm so happy, the last session that we had between Anandaji and Sarupji, first time in a Lit Fest that I saw someone speaking about the importance of heritage walks for the children and linking them to the academics. I, being a heritage researcher, explorer, and a heritage walker myself, my areas of research and walk spread across Kurukshetra, Vrajmandal, Orissa, and Madhya Pradesh, particularly the Malwa, the ancient Malwa. So, and taking a clue from Dr. Ranganathan's discussion earlier this morning, I want to give you a small story from a heritage perspective. We all know about the Katra Keshavdev on which Vishnuji is working on. But let me tell you the story where Katra Keshavdev ji started. why it happened. Aurangzeb, Alamgir Aurangzeb, one day was taking a stroll on the Agra fort, okay? And there used to be a 2 man ka ghee ka diya, which used to be lit on top of the Katra Keshav Dev. And he saw that, and that enraged him so much that the next day he issued the farman. And Dr. Meenakshi Jain, as she rightly says, the Mughal Sarkar or a Farmani Sarkar. But unfortunately, this farman was used, and which is not quoted anywhere. This single farman was used to take down entire Vraj Mandal. When I say entire Vraj Mandal, it means all these sandstone structures which even Akbar had commissioned to some extent across Vrindavan, Mathura, Govardhan, Gokul, everywhere. Fortunately, our deities survived. Why? And Dr. Meenakshi Jain has referred this in his books, Flight of Deities and Temples. Why did it survive? Because the Mughal court had a lot of Rajput chieftains, okay? And these chieftains had immediately, and they were all Krishna devotees, they immediately informed the Gosais of Vrindavan, who, they transported the deities, including the Srinath Ji of Natwara, Govind Dev Ji of Jaipur, Gopinath Ji of Jaipur, everywhere, in bullock carts over the night. And just to quote you one example of that, I will talk about Govind Dev Ji only, from a heritage perspective, being a heritage explorer and researcher. Govind Dev Ji's deity took 44 years, 44 long years from Vrindavan to reach Jaipur. And I salute personally when I read those texts, how it survived. The resilience, the bravery, the courage, the sacrifice of the Gosais of Vrindavan was astounding. No less than the Rajput princes who fought the Islamic invaders. They took the traversing way through jungles and whatnot to avoid the Mughal forces, and then it reached. And this structure of Govind Dev Ji, which is the most opulent structure, which Frederick Solomon Grouse in his book Memoirs of Mathura explains is as poetry on stone, was the most opulent structure to come up in the 700 years of peak Islamic rule which North India had experienced. It was a 7-story building which was brought down by Alamgir to 3-story. And what is not publicized today, we know Katra Keshav Devji's Vigraha was taken down in Agra and placed on the steps, similar to what Iltutmish did for the Ujjain Mahakal Vigraha. But what he did, since the Vigrahas was not there, you should know about it. The Vigrahas was not there, so what he did, he built a mazar on top of the 3rd floor. So that every day, people can go up, offer their prayers, और उसको रोनते हुए जाएंगे ऊपर तक. It was Frederick Solomon Grouse, the district collector of Mathura, who was there between 1868 to 1874, who took this step of bringing down this mazar. Had it not been Mr. Grouse, probably we would have been fighting another Kashi. And I don't know how to put this. ASI has doing, we all know how ASI functions. And, just to give you one small example from Dwarka. Dwarka that has been excavated by Professor Emeritus Dr. S.R. Rao is still not complete. The real Dwarka is still 15 kilometers from Ved Dwarka. Satellite analog images are available today to show. And would you believe me, the Bohra boatmen who are there building boats for last few centuries, even today along with the local pilgrims or devotees, go by boat 15 kilometers inside the sea and then pour milk on the water because Krishna's Mahal is down there. And why it is important to understand our Puranic texts, because Professor Rao clearly mentioned in his book, basis the findings, archaeological findings, oceanographic findings that were done by him in Dwarka, that only the tag is missing, that it is Krishna's Dwarka. Because the walls of Dwarka means a walled city, the walls of Dwarka, the seals, the Harappan seals, they exactly matched with whatever has been mentioned in Mahabharata or the Harivansh Puran. People don't read Harivansh Puran. Harivansh Puran is the lineage, Harika lineage, Harika Vansh, Hari's lineage. It speaks of Krishna's lineage, Vasudev's lineage. the lineage of the Vrishni clan of Yadavas and the Andhakas. Now, from a heritage perspective, we had this Indraprastha talks organized by Draupadi Foundation somewhere in July, and where I was also presenting a paper on Vraj, and many senior officials from ASI had come. So my question to one of the very senior officials from ASI was on Dwarka. What are you doing on Dwarka? Why are you not banning or taking up with the Ministry of Culture and Government of India to ban maritime shipping in Dwarka? It is damaging the structures. Even if 20 years down the line, you start digging, you send underwater divers, you will not find anything. He said, why? What's your concern? My concern is the petroleum products. My concern is the sonar radiation, which is damaging those structures. And you know what that gentleman had to say? इतने सालों से है ना, रह जाएंगे, चिंता ना करिए, पानी के इतना नीचे है ना, रह जाएंगे. So this is what our understanding, our sensitivity towards our heritage is. And I'm so happy that Swarupji is taking a lead in taking our children to the sites and explaining them. I conducted 3 discussions very recently in the last 2 months. One is with IIT Kanpur, IKS division. One was recently, just 2 days back, with the Sharda University in Greater Noida, and the other one was with the Indian Institute of Travel and Tourism Management in Bhubaneswar. Would you believe me? Not even 2% of the students have heard about what is a Puran and what is an Upanishad. Sharda University, Greater Noida, right in the heart of the capital. सिर्फ एक लड़की मिला मुझे पूरी 300 स्टूडेंट्स के बीच में जिसने महाभारत पढ़ा है, लेकिन उसको भी पुराण क्या है, महापुराण क्या है, उपपुराण क्या है, अनुगीता क्या है, मध्यम गीता क्या है, कुछ भी नहीं मालूम उनको. This is our generation of students, what they are being taught. खोखले है. And then there is one student who smartly stands up and asks me, do you feel Akbar was really great? Do you feel Mughal cuisine is not contributing? I said, what? Why are you going by Mughal biryani? There is Pakadarpanam by Nal, which speaks of biryani. Why are you not looking at the temples with the Cholas or the Eastern Ganga dynasty who built Konark Sun Temple or the Jagannath Temple and contributing to the economy of India? Even today, these temples are forming the backbone of those cities. You take away those temples, the entire city will collapse. You don't talk about that, and you only look at Mughal architecture. What architecture are you talking about? You don't look at the architecture of the Jagannath temple. You don't look at the architecture of the Brihadeshwara temple. Someone was speaking exactly about on those lines. Yeah, so this is our culture. This is our cultural understanding. Then there is one of my heritage foundings. Along with Kurukshetra, I also cover Panipat because that's historically very important. And believe me, ladies and gentlemen, nobody visits Panipat. And there is so much to see in Panipat. The museum that is there, capturing arms, ammunitions from the 3 battles that were used. And then there is the park of Kala Amb. Mind the name Kala Amb. Black mango trees. And an epitaph or a cenotaph, whatever you say, has been built over there. In the same place where Sadasiv Rao Bhav lost his life fighting some 20 plus Durrani Senas. And what people don't know and what is not quoted on in our history books, and I was talking to Vikram Sampatji, and Anandji is there, we were talking in Indraprastha talks, that why the Peshwa Daftari records are not today being considered for rewriting the Maratha history or even the history of Bharat. Why the Peshwa Daftari records? Why Bhaushivanchi Kaifiyat is not being recorded? Bhaushivanchi Kaifiyat gives you so much of information on Maratha history. That's not used. Now, having said so, people in Panipat, the residents of Panipat don't know what happened in Kalam. So let me tell you that as well. That is the place where Sadasiv Rao Bhav's head was cut off. The 11 Maratha generals whose body was traded by the great Kashi Raj, whose name is never mentioned in enough our history books sufficiently. Kashi Raj, Hindustan, Bharat, the Hindus the Marathas and all the Indians owe a big thank you to Kashiraj, because he was the person who stopped Ahmad Shah Abdali from taking the body of Peshwa Vishwas Rao, the son of Peshwa, Vishwas Rao. He was very handsome, very beautiful, and Abdali was so enamored by his looks, the dead body, he wanted to take it back stuffed. Would you believe me? They wanted to take it back stuffed. It was Kashiraj who stopped it. The head of Sadasiv Rao Bhau Sahib का जो सर था, उसने बरखुरदार खान ने अपने टेंट में उसको छुपा के रखा था. He wanted to trade off. और काशीराज को जब अपने गुप्तचरों से इस चीज का पता चला, उन्होंने अब्दाली के पास चला गया. Kashiraj paid 3 lakh rupees on those days for the body of these 11 Maratha generals, including the head of Sadasiv Rao Bhau, after which proper cremation was done for these 11 generals. And we don't speak of Kashiraj. This is our history. So with this, I will open up a little bit of question answer session for Manushi. So Manushi, going back, yeah. No, I just have a question for you. So Manushi, you have mentioned about the Uttarapath. And if we really look at from our Puranic texts, I don't know how many of you are aware, on the Kaurava side, we had Anga, Vanga, Kalinga and Pragjotishpur, today's Assam. And Narakasu's son, Bhagadatta, who had a huge elephant army, was participating in this war on behalf of the Kauravas. And all this entire might of elephants and chariots and the Chaturangi Senas from Anga, Vanga, Kalinga and Pragjotishpur traveled by Uttarapath to Kurukshetra. Swayambhu Manu, in his Manusmriti, when he defines the boundaries of Brahmavarta or Brahmarshi Desha more focused on Kurukshetra region, the 48 coast Kurukshetra Pavan Bhumi, but he describes the entire Aryavat over that time by the term Brahmavarta, of which the southern tips consists of Khandaprastha or Indraprastha. And he mentions on Uttarapath what are the key towns, including Madhupuri or Madhupura or today's Mathura. And he also mentions the importance of Mathura because he was very affectionate about his grandson Bhakta Dhruv, who, penest or, did his moksha in Madhuban, in Mathura, outside of Mathura. Today it is around 10 kilometers outside of Mathura. So, Manushi, how have you mapped the journey? If you can give a brief synopsis of Uttarapath for the benefit of the audience.
Yeah, there is a chapter dedicated to the origin of the Uttarapatha in this book. It is described in detail here. So it is Uttarapatha, which we today know as Grand Trunk Road or GT Road. So if we search in Google, who built the GT Road, then immediately the name of Shersa Suri pops up. He ruled only for 6 years, and this road is attributed to him. So I have found, I did a Google search and found many links hailing Shersa Suri as the founder of the GT Road. So it has been there since Upanishadic times, since the Ramayana period. All these Ramayana events took place, even Gandhara, that Bharat used to go to Gandhara in a chariot from Ayodhya to Gandhara via the Uttarapatha road. Then there is a description of the Uttarapatha in the Mahabharata and various more historical records. Then King Ashoka and his followers and his later kings from other dynasties, also they rebuilt and maintained the Uttarapatha road, and Ashoka not only maintained and beautified the road, planting trees on both sides, but also he built wells and rest houses. And this legacy was further carried forward by the other kings. Ashoka not only beautified the Uttarapatha road, but also the Dakshinapatha road. He contributed. Under his patronage, rest houses and wells were built along the Dakshinapatha road as well. And then Shersa Suri, he only extended a few kilometers, and he also added more wells, etc. But this narrative has to change. This attribution to Sarsasuri has to change. So if I go into the details of explaining everything,
So I'll come to the
this is mentioned in the book, in this chapter.
Yeah, so there's so many mothers and sisters over here. So the book
I want to interrupt.
I'm so sorry.
Interrupt. Surya Roy is connected to Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. His grandfather, Satish Chandra Roy, was the owner of Roy Villa, where Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, during the election period for provincial autonomy in 1936, stayed at his grandfather's house for 3 days. And Satish Chandra Roy was also the financier of East Bengal and Rangoon for Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose.
So, since there are so many, since Manushi referred to this question, so I'll just share a story from our family archives. You will never find this story, never hear this story of Netaji in any of the textbooks or storybooks that is there in the market. So this was 1943, and this story comes from my great-grandfather to my father and then to me. So it was 1943, the Bengal famine was ravaging Bengal. 3.5 million people dead, and people were not getting a single piece of rice at that point of time. So during this time, my grandfather and few of his friends had, organized a special dinner for Subhash Bose in Rangoon by the Rangoon Bengali Association. So Mr. Bose or Netaji, when he came there and saw the array of foods that are being offered to him, the best of the best dishes, he started crying like a child, Food ke do rahe the. And everybody was puzzled what happened to Bose. And after some time, when he settled down, he said, मेरे घर में लोगों को दो टाइम का क्या छोड़िए, एक दाना चावल नहीं मिल रहा है, और मैं ये सब कैसे खाऊंगा? I cannot eat. So, however, on persistence from my grandfather and his friends, he did have a little bit of dal and little bit of boiled, potato. That's it. This much. This much. That is the greatness of the man. There are some other stories also, but in the interest of time, I will not share that. But these are stories and which really resides with us family even now. And a big thank you to Professor Kapil Kumar, the curator of INA Museum in Red Fort, who enlisted our family last year into the government records in the family of revolutionaries. Thank you. So since there are so many mothers and sisters, and you have very nicely captured the Chaucer Yoginis, that's very near to my heart, because I travel in Orissa a lot and in MP, and these two states have a lot of Yogini temples. Morena, in middle of Chambal Valley, Dakuo ne unko bacha ke rakha tha. Both Bateshwar and, Morena. Mitavli, in the district of Mitavli and Paravali. So, Mitavli mein hai. And then there are two Yogini temples, also in Orissa. One is in Hirapur, just outside of Bhubaneswar, and the other one is in Ranipur Jharial, but they are in smaller forms. But what people don't know largely is who are these Chaucer Yoginis. So just to say a little bit about it, when Mahamaya saw Rakta Bij replicating from the blood, he created Yoginis, okay? And these Yoginis were the female forms of the male gods, like Varaha ka Varahini, Brahma ka somebody else, and like that. So Chaucer Yoginis were there, and their main job was to drink the blood of Rakta Bij, so that the duplication or multiplication doesn't happen. So that's basically, in short, what Chaucer Yogini has, and they are very ferocious forms of Yoginis, Tantric, and I have seen some very fearful sights in all these temples, especially after the evenings, people cutting off their tongues and offering, So even worse than that. They're very powerful goddesses. Once you have their power, you can do anything and everything, actually. So Manushi, what inspires you to capture the Yogini Kala, or Yogini cult, or Yogini Tattva? I don't love to use the word cult. I prefer to use the word tattva. And how do you see it evolving over a period of time in Bharat?
So the worshipping of the Saptamatrika or the Ashtamatrika has been prevalent since the BCE period. There are so many temples, I mean not dedicated only to the Saptamatrikas, there are temples dedicated to Shiva, Parvati, Vishnu that have panels of Saptamatrika in the temples. And there is a Yogini temple in Coimbatore as well. I think not many in Coimbatore are aware of the Yogini temple.
Share the name.
But even I tried to, during my last visit to Coimbatore, I tried to find out the temple, but I couldn't find it. Alexander Cunningham, he founded the Archaeological Survey of India. So in his report in 1800 and something, in the last part of the 1900s, 1800 something, he described about a Yogini temple in Coimbatore. Like the temple is built in such a manner that the murtis are visible half covered by the wall and half visible from outside. But according to the description, the temple is not there. I think due to lack of maintenance or maybe because the ASI did not look into the maintenance, the temple is not there.
Listed
Likewise,
temples have disappeared.
Disappeared. Now, likewise, there are many thousands of temples in ruins across the country. When we visited, myself and my husband, we visited the Yogini temple in Khajuraho. According to Alexander Cunningham's report, there were many cells and there were three vigrahas of yoginis in that temple compound. But when we visited, there was not a single vigraha and almost all the cells have perished due to the ravages of time and adverse weather conditions. And then about the yogini and the Saptamatrika, it is described in detail in the book.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. So there are 64 temples in line with 64 yoginis across India. So we will open up for the questions. So we'll not be able to take more than 2 questions. I think one gentleman at the back had a question. So I don't know. Yes, please. Somebody, if you can pass on the mic, please.
Manoshiji, this is to you. There has been records of Bagor stone in upper Paleolithic age, deities, which was done together by University of California and Allahabad University together. And if I remember that, is that something which you have, put in the book, or is there anything before that also that has come up? Where this, any of this ancient deity worship is there? Yeah,
there are instances, there are remnants of, excavated remnants of the mother goddesses in the excavated sites of the Indus Valley. That also finds a little bit of description, but the archaeologists themselves and many historians and the Western researchers as well, they do not consider them to be yoginis. But they are the representations of the mother goddess, that is Devi, Shakti, Pashupati and Shakti. And at Chandraketugarh, there are archaeological remnants of several mother goddesses.
I think there's a Yakshini.
Yeah, it is described as the remnants have been described as a Yakshini. But behind the head, 10 hands along with the weapons are shown. So that also represents a representation of Ma Shakti only.
Yeah, my question is it the earliest one is on
Chandraketugarh dates back to more than 2,500 years. 3,000 to 2,500 years.
Yeah, Upper Paleolithic is around 10,000 years. If I 10,000 to 40,000, right? Actually, so that's what I was wondering.
Yeah. Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, and all of these Indus Valley sites, whatever remnants are found, date back to around 5,000 years or 6,000 years at the most.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions? Else we'll move to the book launch. Okay, one question from this side.
There are several books. I will meet. Yeah, I will maybe after this session we will meet, and I'll take your number and I'll provide the book link. Okay, thanks.
So if there are no more questions, we'll move to the book launch then.
I request Shafali Vaidya ji, Vishnu Shankar ji, Sundar Ramachandran ji, and Anant Rangnajan ji to come up to the stage to release the book.
Have the copies for everyone.
I request Srimati and Sri Pradeep Menon ji
Just
to present the mementos.
Vishnu ji, I would like to request you to say a few words about the book because he has read the book and given a quote of appreciation for this book.
No, actually, myself and my father, both of us went through this book, and it's a very, very, I can say, lot of hard work Manushi ji has put in this book, and the things which we are fighting for. Actually, this book provides meaning to those aspects, like here the temple of Chauset Yogini was being talked about. If anyone goes and visits the temple of Chauset Yogini, the same architecture has been followed in today's Indian Parliament. The same architecture.
Old Parliament.
Old Parliament.
And the best part is that all of those Yogini temples are on the same architecture.
Same architecture.
All. Thoda bada hai, thoda chota hai.
So actually the architecture which we had, the rich cultural heritage which we had, and what was the meaning and the devotion which was involved in various forms of our god and goddesses, everything has been so nicely described by Manushi ji. And this book is seriously, I feel it's a great, I can say it's a great gift for all of us.
Organizing such a unique event, and Chief Curator Shafali Vaidya ji, Kanaga Savapati ji, and this is unique in the sense that I have attended so many Lit Fest, but this is for the first time that so many book launches are happening in this literature event. 11 book launches.
Next on stage, we have Gurupriya Chaitanya Ji, a Brahmacharya at Anadi Foundation, Pradhana Acharya Dharma Gurukulam, an IKS expert, IIT Mumbai PhD scholar, and a speaker.
In the interest of time, I'll begin. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Absolutely delighted to be in front of this very august audience. In 2005, I was in an engineering course and I entered a classroom, a computer science course. Many of us are engineers here, I know. I entered this course and I see my professor sitting in Padmasana. And I was not sure if I entered the right class because still in schooling we always have the teacher come to us to the classroom. I was not sure if I entered the right classroom. That's when I met my guru, Shriman Adinarayananji, and our guru Tambatis, in fact, Matushri Smritiji. I'm indebted to them for this journey in this brief lifetime on this Bhuloka. This very pertinent journey in understanding Indian knowledge systems. Sir, is this working? Okay. It's okay. I'll manage without it. Here at Anadi Foundation in 2015, the foundation was started. They were past professors earlier in tech field. Many of us students here, some of us here, past students of Shriman. I used to run my own software firm here in Coimbatore, before that in the tech industry and so on. But there's something about Bharatiya Vijnana that drew me into understanding more facets and a huge deficiency that's there in the current educational framework. Today morning, Professor Anand Ranganathanji did share about the sort of deficiencies that are there with the, sort of mulled efforts that have been happening in bringing more indie content into the education. I want to take this session to give a glimpse of the kind of thing that we are missing out on. We are very sure, we have all known the Angus Maddison study, and we know that for a long time, India was one among the greatest contributors to world's GDP till the 17th century. Thanks to Professor Kanaga Sabhavati sir, in 2009, he had inspired me to learn Indian economic models. But this story of, very successful contribution economically has a story behind it, right? We know what should have driven our India's GDP, if I may ask. All of you know it very, very well. But still, just to engage, if I may have to ask you, what could have driven India's GDP? So Angus Maddison study says that till 17th century, India had contributed almost 1/4 of the world's GDP. What could have driven that? Any thoughts? Science, temples, definitely. Artisans, absolutely. Sorry, Ji? Metallurgy, absolutely. We have chemistry buffs here. Thank you, Ji. So a lot of, if you look at jewelry, every industry, Shefali Ji would later also talk about the soft power today of the textile industry. When we look at the huge amount of sciences and technology, be it the medicinal sciences, be it the astronomical sciences, the spiritual sciences, the psychological sciences, the chemical sciences, so too in technology, shipbuilding, water harvesting, name it, right? We have all known that. We were super intelligent, and we had the intellectual prowess in all this, like how intellectual prowess drives super economies today. However, I ask this question, how on earth could this intellectual prowess be accessible to everybody in this country? Where would we study all this? Where would have children been studying earlier? This magical word we have all heard, and we have seen in the Mahabharata serials as well, Gurukulam. Right? We have all heard this word Gurukulam. If we do a thought experiment, if we close our eyes and then envision what a Gurukulam might look like, what do you see there? Yes, and which particular tree is that? All of you saw the banyan tree? All of us? Okay. It's not a yogic trance session, but all of us did imagine the banyan tree. Underneath it, who's sitting? He has a big, sure, right? The longer the beard, the greater the scholarship. We are sure, right? Or the whiter the beard, the greater the scholarship. Two direct proportions. Who are sitting around, what are people doing around him? Chairs? No. Sitting down? Sitting on a floor. How many students do you see there? 10, 20, 30, 10. Not large numbers. 6 might be, 8 might be. That's all paintings can fit. Yeah. Durvasa Maharishi in Mahabharata is said to have had 10,000 disciples without a residential Gurukula to be. He was a walking university. We're talking about a very profound system which we do not have a clear idea about because it's a big black box to us. What a Gurukula is where, and what do you think is the first period of the Gurukula? When does the Gurukula begin? When does the first bell ring? How many school bags are taken? How many books in these bags do you think? What is the first period, second period? When is the interval? What are the children eating? What's happening in this Gurukula? Please tell me. Any thoughts? We are all 24/7 Gurukula. No sleep, 24/7. We got it. Excellent. What else? What other models do you think Gurukulas could have been? Spiritual learning. What were they learning? The chants that the children of Dharma Gurukulam today morning recited. What else were they doing? Sitting, chanting. Om Ghananam Tvam Ghanapadihum Havamahe. All day do you think you can just make children sit, chant? Today, we've got to engage children. But we know that the Gurukulas, existed they operated for very long hours. At least starting from the Brahma Muhurta. When is the Brahma Muhurta? Oh, that's a flexible time. Today morning 9:30 could be the Brahma Muhurta for the one who wakes up after a very tough week. But this Brahma Muhurta, they've all woken up in Brahma Muhurta. Are you all with me? What's happening in this Brahma Muhurta? What are they doing early in the morning? There is yoga, there is Sandhya Vandana. They're going to the nearby river, they're taking a dip. What else is happening in this Gurukula? Tell me. Yes, they are learning Vedas. What else? They are learning warfare. Okay. What else are they learning in this Gurukula? Ayurveda. They are learning Ayurveda. Fantastic. What else are they learning? They are learning maths in this Gurukula. Can you fit that idea into a Gurukula? Ganita, Vyakarana. So there is this wonderful book to get a glimpse about this. Sri Dharampal has authored a book called Beautiful Tree. I'm sure many of the people here know this. Very, very interestingly, the late Padma Shri Krishna Kumarji from our own Coimbatore at AVP Foundation. If you look at the publisher for the Beautiful Tree, you would see AVP Foundation as the publisher. At a time when there was no money to publish the Beautiful Tree. And the Beautiful Tree states some excellent facts coming from the British East Indian Archive, talking about how they surveyed Gurukulas. Very conveniently, they have not surveyed any of the Kalashalas. Because in their mindset, it is not a Gurukula. And among the 12,700 and odd schools that they have, or Gurukulas that they have surveyed in the Madras Presidency in the 18th century, only 400 taught the Vedas. What else were they teaching in these places? How was math taught, if math was taught? What books did they carry? How did they study? This is a very fascinating question. That's where when we go to the classical source texts of what children were studying, that gives us ample insight into what the pedagogical approach was. All of Gurukula, what is the book that you carry? this. It's called the Dhi Yantra. It's an yantra. You've got to sharpen it, hone it. You've got to create opportunities for a child in a Gurukula to hone it as well. Now this Dhi Yantra they'll have to carry everywhere, and so they had to design a pedagogy that had to create an opportunity for the child to learn it in a very self-reliant manner. Today, there's a lot of dependency on writing and, earlier it was what tradition? We all know it was an oral tradition. And in oral tradition, what was happening? Till today, can we all forget the second line to Baba Black Sheep? We all know that about the wool story and the master and the slave and and the London Bridge is still falling down in our Indian education system. That's where the school curriculum is right now. What were children learning earlier? Koruk, koruk, koruk. Hitabhuk, mitabhuk, ritubhuk. If I may engage you, can you repeat after me? Koruk, koruk, koruk. Thank you. We are simulating the Gurukula. Hitabhuk, ritubhuk, mitabhuk. What on earth is that? This is Charaka in a Gurukula teaching kindergarten children, if you may call them kindergarten, German word, using it here. Nonetheless, children who are starting schooling, the Dharampal study says that children started schooling typically from the ages of 7, and then it continued, which is a Gurukula Vasa he's talking about. Otherwise, they were also Thinnai Pallikudal. The Tanjore Saraswati Mahal Library has Enchuvatti. Enchuvatti is a beautiful manuscript of tables for people who are going to build water tanks with volumetric analysis in them, volumetric tables that you'll have to remember. Vaipade it was called, and also in Sanskritam it's called Kantapata. In various languages, Pavaluru Ganitamu in Telugu, Enchuvatti in Tamil, in Sanskritam, in Prakrita, so many languages across the country, these educational aspects were taught. One example is this. Makhi, bhaki, phaki, dhaki, naki, nyaki. What on earth is happening? Ngaki, hash, jas, kaki, kish, gas, kaki, kik, goa. This is the sign table given by Aryabhatta. Now, I've gone to so many educational institutions and again I ask this question, what did Aryabhatta invent? Thanks to the 1975 satellite launch vehicle ISRO had labeled as Aryabhatta, it's become an household name. Otherwise, what did Aryabhatta invent? What's the answer? Thank you, zero. Zero was there since the Vedic times. In fact, zero is not India's contribution to mathematics, it's the decimal number system. Imagine doing till 14th century. All of Europe is submerged in Roman numbers. Imagine doing multiplication. XIVVV plus CXIII minus VII. When will you finish just addition and subtraction? All of math here was exceptionally empowering. Here we followed something called the Parikarmashtakam. There were 8 operations that a child of 8 or 9-year-old had to master. What were these 8 operations? Addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, square, square root, cube, cube root. Sankalita, Vyavakalita, Gunanam, Bhajanam, Varga, Vargamula, Ghana, Ghanamula. Children had to master this mentally. How would they have achieved this? Now, we had to be, from the Vedic times, we had to have constructed various things and there was a lot of demand for mathematical applications, be it in textiles, be it in construction, be it in cooking, be it in Vaidya, across a whole range of subjects. That's why Mahavira Acharya, a Jaina mathematician, starts his work called Ganita Sara Kaumudi with this verse. Laukike Vaidike Chapi Tatha Samaike Piva Vyaparas Tatra Sarvatra Ganitena Vinanahi, he says. And this is how mathematics was taught, by integrating it into Super Shastra, Ganit, also into textile engineering, combinatorics in textile engineering, metrics in music, meters in music. All this is how math was taught. A simple example is, it goes like this. Partha Karnavadhaya Marganaganam Kruddho, if I may take 30 seconds alone. Partha Karnavadhaya Marganaganam Kruddho Rane Sandadhe. Partha is doing Karnavada. This is Bhaskaracharya and Leelavati writing. Faizi, the court mathematician of Akbar, has translated this into Persian, and it is in his notes that he says that Leelavati is likely the daughter of Bhaskaracharya, who was 9 years old. Later she was going to get married. There was this entire narrative of how she was looking into a Ghatika Yantra where the pearl fell. All that is from Faizi. But however, from the source text internal evidence, what we try to understand is that Leelavati is a Balika to whom Bhaskaracharya is posing this question. And what is this question? This is a quadratic indeterminate equation where Partha is doing Karnavada. Who is Partha? We know Arjuna. And he is doing Karnavada. And he is shooting vectors of arrows. Okay. Marganaganam. Kruddhorane sandade. Tasyardhena nivarya. Half of it is for defense. Now there is Yuddha Niyati in this math class. The greatest amount of, arms and ammunitions utilized is first towards defense. If you look at it mathematically later. Tasyardhena nivarya tacharaganam mulais chaturbhirhayan. 4 root text is used to tackle the horses of Karna. Shalyam shadbihi. If you read, if you read the Upakathas of Mahabharata, if you read more books, you know how Shalya came to the Kaurava clan. So a math class now will deviate into Shalya's story, how Shalya came into the Kauravas. He took his one whole Akshogini and then had to go and join Kauravas. Though he was the maternal uncle of Nakula Sahadeva. From there the story will come back into the math class. Shalyam shadbihi ateshu bistribhirapi chatram dhvajam karmukam. One to destroy the umbrella, one to destroy the flag, dhvajam. One for karmukam. What's karmukam? Anshulji may say. Karmukam is the bow of Karna. Right? Ghandiva is the bow of Arjuna. One to destroy it. Finally, chiche dasya shirasharena katite Bhaskaras. How many arrows were employed? X by 2 for defense. 4 root X, tackle the, horses of Karna. 6 to tackle Shalya, the charioteer of Karna. 3 for the umbrella, the flag, and the bow. Right? Finally, 1 at the head of Karna. X by 2 plus 4 root X plus 6 plus 3 plus 1 is equal to X. Now, this is a quadratic indeterminate equation. When you solve it, you get X square minus 8 root X plus 10 is equal to 0. Solutions for it can be minus 2 or plus 10. Today, children learn it in 10th standard. Minus B plus or minus root of B square minus 4AC. And the question says solve for X. And then they give a question. Now, contrast this kind of rich pedagogy that we had in Indian traditions versus, contrast this to what's happening right now. A mundane education creating a lot of phobia towards math and sciences. And there are a lot of modern applications to this as well. 1, in pedagogy. 2, in computational thinking. There are fantastic ways in which you can impart algorithmic thinking into, children in higher education. So towards bringing back Bharatiya Vijnana and towards balancing it with modern sciences, we have a Dharma Gurukulam. Children of the Gurukulam presented here. We also have a stall there of some among the books that we offer for the rest of the world to also benefit from this, sort of endeavor. We believe very strongly in our Gurukulam. It's just Parni, 2 hours away from here. I welcome you all to visit the stall, and if possible, welcome to our ashram as well at some point in time. I definitely would like to host you all there, and would like children to demonstrate some among these Vijnana capabilities, blending both modern and ancient sciences. Some of our children have admits into IIT Madras and so on. So this is a bunch of 25 children learning both modern sciences and ancient sciences in a blend in Bharatiya Vijnana. Towards this, I feel that towards addressing the topic finally, is that in reviving Gurukula systems in the country, it becomes paramount importance not just to know the history of our country, but the scientific heritage and the pedagogical methods that we have in our texts. We have a huge treasure trove of it upon which we are all sleeping. May Bharat wake up. Jayatu Bharatam, Jayatu Bharatiya Vijnana.
I request Shri Harish Karat ji to present the memento. Let us all meet back up after a lunch break, sharp at 2:30, as we have an exciting session of Bharat Fast Forward awaiting us. A short session with Shefali Vaidya in conversation with Abhijit Jog and Amit Tadani ji.